Recognize that your mental health is so important. If you don't, then I promise you'll be so distorted. Stiffened by your thoughts, that's a mental rigor mortis. I'm on a hard mission and it won't be aborted. Assorted memories will seem to be your remedy, but in your darkest hour, form into your enemies. Trust your gut, judge people off their energy. Cut them off quick and fast, they are limiting your room to...
You're listening to the Expect Effect podcast, where the concept of self-care is our primary focus. Consider this an acknowledgement of feeling, the birth of every great idea within you. This is your weekly dose of me time, and I am your host. It's just Nakia. I cannot thank you enough for sitting down and taking another opportunity to focus on you. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at It's Just Nakia. We also have personal pages dedicated to the show at the Expect Effect podcast on Instagram and Facebook. Listen, we know that life is hard, especially in the current climate, but we believe that self-care doesn't have to be. So sit back, relax, and unwind as we together truly uncover ways to expect better, do better, and believe better. Listen, you see in double, and that is the truth. We are running 2 episodes every week through May 3rd. And y'all, I have been working so hard. I have been so busy and consumed with all of this that you may actually get 3 episodes next week. In part, just because the sound quality's been upped up. I got a new microphone to play with. It's so much easier now to record different pieces and segments of the show, which is so exciting. It's left me more room to just play and edit. So this is thrilling. Excuse me. So yeah, you very well may hear 3 episodes next week. Other than that, there's still not much to report. We're on lockdown, can't go nowhere, can't see nobody, can't walk over to nobody's house. You really shouldn't be partying, Teddy Riley. That is a big shout to you. You had at least 36 people in that room, and I didn't see a mask anywhere. Okay? I didn't see Teddy Riley drip down with anything. He was just out there, 2 mics, big ass hat on. You know Anthony Hamilton wants his hat back. I am sick. If you haven't already, go report his Instagram page, report his Twitter handle, report all his social media feeds. Teddy, you need to fire the team. And when we come back to Versus, I want it to be clean. And some of you have no idea what I'm talking about. But to those of you who are fans, not only of music, but of R&B, music. The most authentic sounds you've ever heard in your life. Kenny Babyface Edmonds and Teddy, who told him to run a full stage setup, Riley, did have an IG live battle on Saturday evening, and it was what it was. It wasn't, they didn't even bring what I thought they were going to bring. There was so much disappointment and confusion, but not on the part of Kenny Babyface Edmonds. So to you, Babyface, I say thank you, and know that I only think of you on 2 occasions as well, my friend. Moving right along. I really don't want to waste any time, guys. My voice is cracking a little bit if you can't already tell. I'm kind of struggling here, but we're going to get through this. Still, not much to report. A failed IG live battle between Teddy Riley and Babyface. Some last minute recording by the kid per the usual, but we were messing around playing with some different things, and I really took majority of yesterday to rest. So this, I'll be honest, this is a Self-Care Sunday edition on Sunday. I'm really letting y'all know what it was. Yesterday, I slept in, just enjoyed my girl, kind of took a long ass nap. I watched a lot of Scandal. I was up until 5 in the morning. I hopped out the bed at 8 this morning, and then just started working on putting together the last pieces of the show. Watched church. I thought that was amazing. Got my prayers in, and now we're doing this so that you can see the final production at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Y'all, quarantine got us delayed. It's got got us laid back, tired, confused, everything else, but I'm happy to have you here. So I don't want to waste any more time. Let's get right into the second episode topic, Kill Bill. Now, some of you may be wondering, why in the hell would she name an episode Kill Bill? One, I'm a huge fan of Quentin Tarantino. Hateful Eight, Pulp Fiction, what's not to love about Kill Bill? We had Vivica Fox, Lucy Liu, Uma Thurman, and Lucy Liu's entire... You know what? Vivica and Lucy Liu, I think, had equally impressive fight scenes, backstories, just the whole nine. Like, they really did the damn thing. Kill Bill is single-handedly one of the greatest cinematic productions I've ever seen. Quentin Tarantino is one of the greatest directors I've ever seen. So I'm a huge Quentin Tarantino fan. I can't think of the last movie. I did go see it in theaters. I don't want to say it wrong, so we're going to get with my girl Google. You know, she is my best friend. It wasn't a bad movie. Definitely, like, not my favorite production of his. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Still a stellar production and definitely a plot twist on a true story. If you've never seen it or heard of it, I'm not even going to give any spoilers. Just go watch it. It's 3 hours of your life that you have nothing else to do because we're in quarantine. So go support Quentin Tarantino and watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood if you haven't already. And while you're listening to this, 9 times out of 10, I myself will be watching Kill Bill. Kill Bill is a really, really interesting movie because obviously the whole premise and intent is that someone has to die. The goal for Beatrix, our protagonist, is to kill Bill, which in this instance, you can view Bill as anxiety, because this week we're talking about the war against anxiety. So when we talk about killing Bill and killing off anxiety, I want to show you how these two things can relate. If you'll notice in Kill Bill, it starts off with a kill list. Okay, there's a list of people, the death list 5 people who have to die, and Bill is the 5th person on the list. Anxiety is the 5th person on your list. But what we're here to talk about today is what happens to the other 4 things you may need to kill. Other 15 things. Look, anxiety might be 16 on your death list. I don't know. But understand that the big battle, the big boys, anxiety and depression, are fueled by other little things, other things you are going to need to kill before you get to your target, before you have your vengeance, before you fulfill your purpose. There are going to be some other things you have to tackle before trying to tackle the man in charge. When depression and anxiety run the show, when fear runs the show, when those things run the show, they're just really, anxiety and depression are components of other emotions, factors, and situations in our lives. Other things we need to kill before we can fully address and tackle that big guy. If you watch Kill Bill, the kills, like the entire Death List 5, right, is comprised into 2 separate films. You have Volume 1 and Volume 2, but each kill required a storyline because that's how powerful these characters were in her life, even though they weren't Bill. And we can call these characters demons for the sake of this episode, but even though these demons weren't Bill, they still created angst for her. They still created problems for her. They were still so big, they needed independent time in production. This wasn't one 2-hour movie dedicated just to killing Bill. We split this shit up. This went 2 separate ways because it needed that much attention. And please forgive my French. I swore I was really going to try not to talk like that on this episode, especially due to who our guest is. So anybody who's keeping track, I am now. I have a tally sheet of cuss words that should not leave my mouth for the duration of this episode. But Kill Bill, if you notice, they did have these independent setups for each of these demons to be addressed and their storylines to be told and for them to be defeated. And then at the very end, you'll notice that Beatrix kills Bill in the least gruesome fashion. Bill is killed in the most complex in terms of what happened. It was a very complex kill, yes. Or rather, strategical skill. It was a very skilled kill. Okay. It was a high skill, high level kill that happened there. That's what I'm really getting at. But you'll notice it was the least messy. Like, there was the least amount of blood, really the least amount of everything. As a matter of fact, he just kind of walks off and collapses. But she's had to tackle so much to get to Bill. But shockingly enough, when she got to him, that was the fastest kill. That was the fastest one. It happened, out of everything else, that was the one that moved the quickest. It was Bill. It was the big boy. Because she took the time to take apart all of the little things in between that. So let's recognize, when talking about the war against anxiety, we must first identify it. And in that, we need to identify how it affects us in individual and community settings. And when we're doing this, when we're identifying what anxiety is for us and how it affects us in individual and community settings, once we know what our triggers are, then we're able to create our kill list. We know what has to go. We'll know what exactly is building and fueling that momentum that's breaking us down, and we'll know what we need to do to start to overcome that thing. And then the more we do that, the more we build up, eventually we're gonna be at the big guy. We will be at our Bill, and we will be tackling that thing head on. So let's just get into a few points here. I want to bring out just kind of, when we talk about the negative impacts anxiety has on our lives, Dr. Charles F. Stanley, and shout out to First Baptist Church in Atlanta. I've never been inside, but I hear that's where Stanley be at. So moving right along, Dr. Charles F. Stanley wrote in Victory Over Anxiety, which is a brief devotional, he said that anxiety divides the mind. Anxiety is a distraction. Okay, its aim is to pull you in many different directions so that you can't concentrate or focus. And whatever divides your mind diverts your attention from important matters and clouds your focus. Another thing he said is that anxiety leads to unwise decisions. When a person is anxious, they have a tendency to jump ahead. If I don't do it now, I might miss it. If I don't marry him now, I'm going to miss out. People make unwise decisions because they're anxious about an uncertain future and missing out on opportunities that may not come again. And there are always consequences when living this way. One final thing he says is that anxiety is a terrible waste of time and energy. When you're frustrated, anxious, and uncertain about things, you can't do your best. You won't feel your best, and this will lead to consequences you truly don't want in your life. When you explore both unique and healthy ways to combat anxiety, you recognize and become comfortable, one, with literally whatever that entails. Whatever that may be, when you're truly fed up, one of the first things on your kill list may be your ego. It may be your attitude. The second thing may be your anger. It may be your fear. It may be past hurt. It could be that old relationship. One of your kill list items might really be a person. It might really be that ex you need to let go. It may really be that friendship you need to let go. It may be a job. Whatever is on your kill list, you will become very comfortable with taking that out. Just like at the beginning of Kill Bill, Beatrix woke up from a coma. Do you hear me? A coma. She been in a coma 4 years. Not one of them, not two of them, not three of them. What Kalani say? Too much, 3 much, 4 years. She had been in a coma, and she woke up realizing I was pregnant when I went into this coma. I woke up, I'm not pregnant anymore. And many of you, before life knocked you down, you were pregnant with ideas. You were pregnant with passion. You were pregnant with purpose. You were pregnant with potential. You were pregnant with hope. You had all of this going for you. You knew the business plan. You knew the model. You had the outline. You had the dreams. You had the support system. You were ready. But life knocked you off guard. And it's been 4 years since you graduated. And it's been 5 years since we've been in high school, and it's been 6 years since the divorce, and it's been 3 years since the breakup, and you're finally up out that coma. If you don't take off running, if you don't get a good grip and a good awareness of your surroundings and say, okay, I know what just happened. But let me really assess what just happened. What are my triggers? What is this? How does it impact me when I'm alone? How does it impact me with others? And how and what needs to go? What do I need to kill? You need to be just as ruthless about your peace, about your position, about your potential, about everything that you have hoped for, aspired for, worked for, dreamed for. If anything could have taken you out by now, I've said it before and I'll say it again, it would have. But it hasn't. You're here for a reason. Understand that while combating the highs and lows, there is no easy button when it comes to mental wellness. It is a definitive matter of continued effort. Therefore, one must become comfortable with encountering both wins and losses. Let me tell you something. When I watched Kill Bill, it wouldn't have been a good movie if there wasn't some suspense. There were times I didn't know that Beatrix was going to make it. There were times I was very uncertain about old girl's fate. She wasn't the brightest, titanium in the head and everything. She had been through a lot, you know. I wasn't always confident. But one thing I realized is it's the same with us. We're not always going to be confident. It's going to be good and it's going to be bad. Sometimes we're only going to have 5 things on our death list, and other times we're going to have 28 because that's just what the year is looking like. Somebody asked Teddy Riley how many things are on his death list right now. Sometimes it's going to be real quick, sweet, and to the point. And also understand that anxiety is going to come in different forms. I said it, individually and with community. There are going to be different things on your death list for different situations. I have a different death list to address with myself for the way I am in relationship than I have to address for the way I am in unity with self. I have a different death list to address the way I am in productivity as an employee than I do as a host of this show. There are different avenues that I have to challenge, all of them intertwining with each other because I am the common denominator, but all requiring something different of me. Is it your anger? Is it your fear? Is it your worry? Is it your stress? Is it your attitude? Is it what happened to you? Listen, I know they touched you and they never should have. And I know that was a hard thing to tell someone, which is why you never did. I know that's why you're holding it in. I know that you don't want to tell your parents you just got fired. You're trying to make them think everything is okay, right? Because you know they're struggling in this pandemic too. You're not trying to tell anybody what's really going on with you because you still got people you got to keep up. Your child is looking to you for answers you don't have. I feel all of those things. But that doesn't take away from what we're capable of doing in the long run. That doesn't take away from what you're capable of owning or controlling in this moment. So allow yourself room to grow, room to breathe, room to love, room to experience, and know that there is work to do. This death list must get done. But you're worth the time that takes. You're worth the patience that takes. You woke up out this coma and those dreams are still alive. What actually happened at the top of Kill Bill is she thought that her child was dead. She thought that they had killed both her, or tried to kill her rather, because obviously she got up, but they thought they tried to kill her and had definitively killed her daughter. But what she found at the end of the movie, when she finally decided that look at what life has taken from me, I have to go get something back. She made a death list and said, here are some things I'm about to kill off and Bill when I get to you, anxiety when I get to you, depression when I get to you, worry when I get to you. You're not ready for me. And she went after that thing, and lo and behold, her daughter was alive. And lo and behold, your dreams are alive. Lo and behold, your potential is alive. Lo and behold, everything that you should be, who you should be with, everything that you should be wrapped up in, it lives in you. It still exists. Go get that thing because you own it. The war against anxiety is ongoing. Kill Bill honestly could have kept going for as long as The Fast and the Furious. Longer than The Young and the Restless. It could have gone on longer than Grey's Anatomy. There are multiple storylines that could be told in this, and there will be multiple storylines told within your life. The death list ain't always going to be 5 things. It ain't always going to be cut and dry. There's always learning and work to be done, but perspective is everything. The energy you carry, that's the energy you keep. That's the energy you attract. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. So identify how and what is happening. If it's identifiable, point it out. How does it impact me when I'm alone? And how does it impact me when I'm with others? In what ways can I really own it? We're about to step into full effect with none other than Jacqueline Stewart for an extended version of this. And when I say extended, I really mean extended. I've presented to you our speaking points, knowing what anxiety is, knowing how to look at that really in the sense of just taking a moment to identify it. I've discussed with you the need to identify it in individual and community settings, and we've talked about some things that it is. I've really hyped you up, I can only hope, with this really great Kill Bill analogy that we have going, but I want to talk about now practical application. So what we're about to discuss with Jacqueline Stewart, who is a minister, mental health coach, wife, mother, sister, friend, daughter, and author. Do you hear me? If the author, mental health and wellness coach. One of her children suffers from attention deficit disorder. The other is autistic. Her husband in the military. She is a minister, and she works tirelessly to constantly put out the kind of energy that I also want to tirelessly work to put out for you here on this show. So this is about to be a combining of worlds unseen, and we're going to discuss, just so you have an outline before we get going, we're going to discuss the application thereof. So we're going to talk about prioritization. We're going to talk about alignment with self in a physical sense, in a spiritual sense. We're going to talk about boundaries, who we're connecting with. We're going to talk about pursuing our passions in the pursuit of our purpose. And we're going to stop trying to be people pleasers. Stay tuned. You do not want to miss this. Guys, I am fired up because I need you to get it. There is something waiting for you on the other side of fear. There was something waiting for me, and I want to see you tackle it too. I want to see you become all that you can. Make out that death list. Kill your bill. Now let's get into practical application by stepping into full effect with Jacqueline Stewart right after this.
Hello, I'm Jacqueline Stewart, and I am the mental health and support coach of moms, wives, and women mental health coaching. I am super excited to be with you guys on today. Just to let you know a little bit about myself, I am a mom, a wife, of course, a mental health and support coach, but I'm a friend, I'm a daughter, I'm so many things to so many different people. But I'm so grateful for the purpose and the plan that God has for my life. As a mom, I have two children. My daughter is on the, she has, my son has autism spectrum disorder, and my daughter is diagnosed with ADD, and I'm also a military spouse. So it's a lot going on in my house. I know right now we're dealing with a pandemic, and so many people are stressed out, dealing with anxiety, depression, maybe even suicidal thoughts. And so my heart on today is just to come on and to encourage you. Not only do, I have children that have issues that are under the mental health bracket, but I also work with youth who have behavior challenges as well as developmental delay. I work with their parents as well. I help to bring together a team in order to help them to reach their goals. And not just that, I know what it's like in my own personal life to have dealt with depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts myself. And not just that, also, I am currently in grad school for clinical mental health counseling. So altogether, my heart is just to serve people who are having issues in this area. And not just that, but to push them towards their purpose and towards their goals. And so I'm so excited to be on tonight, to share myself with you, to be honest with you, to be transparent with you. My heart and what I believe also being a minister is that there's no way that we can really help people if we're not transparent with our own stories. And so I'm so excited tonight to be open with you and honest with you. And I pray that something that I have said or will say will be an inspiration to you, will motivate you, encourage you, and uplift you on tonight. So I'm so grateful to be here.
Listen, I could go home right there, but we're going to keep going, excuse me, with the episode. But I love what you said. There's so much we're going to unpack, and thank you, just for being so open and transparent. But as you said, the only way to truly conquer, right, is to be transparent with your own story.
Right.
And when we're talking about anxiety specifically, just that demon in and of itself, talk to me a little bit about how you had to learn to be comfortable with being so honest that you could be transparent, because transparency involves honesty with self. And I think some people miss that. Like, your ability to be transparent with other people involves you being very real with yourself.
Right. Well, let me tell you this. I know that it is a stigma when it comes to mental illness, mental health issues. And really, before I became a mental health and support coach, I was ordained as a minister. And so I've always told God, hey, if I cannot be transparent as a minister, then I do not want to walk forward in this calling. Because I really believe that, people will tell you to pray about it, whatever issues that you're going through, but nobody really gives you the tools that you need in order to walk that thing out. And then a lot of people, especially in the church or, the religious community, we bury so much. And so my heart, I don't know, maybe it just came from God, but my heart is just to be open with people, because I honestly believe that there is no way that people can really become healed or delivered, as the church community says, or just move forward in their lives if no one is transparent about their own personal journey and how they have made it through or how they are making it through. So that's just my heart. I just believe in being authentic and honest and open with people in order to, because we're living this life to help one another. Am I right? We're living this life to help. And the only way that we can help is by being open and honest with people and not even ashamed of the scars that we have, encountered, the tribulations that we have faced, and all of these things. And so
I once heard someone say, like, we become more comfortable when we realize that someone has a flaw, right? Like, we get real angry when a person seems perfect or put together. But the minute we see, and I believe it was Pastor Greg Rochelle who said that, but it was like, like, we get super hype when we see all of a sudden this person's human like us.
Right. And nobody is perfect. And it's so crazy because social media has put it out there that people's lives are perfect. We look at people's marriages or their relationships, and just because we see this great picture, we think that everything in their marriage is perfect, or we see them pursuing their purpose and we think that their journey is perfect, and social media has just put it out there through a picture that life is perfect. But when we really think about it, nobody's life is perfect. A celebrity's life isn't perfect, even though they may be rich. Because how many of them do you see have committed suicide? They are on drugs. They are alcoholics. They've taken their own lives, because nobody's life is perfect. We're all dealing with some kind of demons in our own personal lives. And we're all needing, something in order to, some kind of strategy on how to cope with our day-to-day life. So nobody's life is perfect.
And I love that you say that and make that point too. No one's life being perfect. I made a point on a previous episode. I think sometimes we get very caught up in this idea that life should be easy or simplistic or, more basic than what it is, like that suffering should not be a part of our story. Tell me a little bit about how you became comfortable, with this idea that you were going to conquer life, not just say that life's going to happen to me. I'm a firm believer of faith also. So I know how I stay, guarded up in my story to getting to that point. But tell me a little bit about yours, because the journey of ministry, especially when you talk about like titles, okay, you are a mother, a wife, mental health coach, you're a daughter, a believer, mother of two, you have an autistic child, a child who suffers from ADD, your military spouse.
Yeah.
And like, so I hear all of these things. And then you went on to say like, oh, by the way, I also work with youth who have developmental delays. And I'm like, wow. And I'm in grad school for clinical mental health counseling. And I said, wait, I can't even, let me just leave now, because they're like, so, but talk to me a little bit about how it is, but I know it takes a lot of it takes something bigger than self to keep all of that together. So tell me how you tapped into this avenue and identified, points, like overcame those points of anxiety for yourself.
Well, I'm going to tell you 4 to 5 things. It may bleed into 5 things. For me, it's not about trying to balance everything, because I think if I tried to balance everything, I would drive myself crazy. But it's all about prioritizing my life. Okay. And I'm going to be honest, and this is the first time that I've shared this before I get into those 4 points that I was talking about. Many people don't know that I just lost my sister. It'll be 3 weeks. Well, it'll be about 4 weeks ago that I lost her to stage 4 cancer. Okay. And then not even 2 weeks before that, I buried my nephew. That's my middle sister's son, passed away.
Goodness.
I buried my nephew. Then not even 2 weeks after that, my oldest sister passed away. And then not even 3 months before my nephew passed away, I had a very close cousin that passed, like a little sister. So death has hit our family in like a 3-month time span.
I can't imagine, because that's
right. It's a lot. And so even though I'm going to grad school for clinical mental health counseling, something in me said, okay, even though my new quarter started this past Monday, wisdom says to me, you need a break, because you've just had 3 deaths back to back. Your sister passed. All of these things are very traumatic. And if you do not watch it, it can trigger anxiety within you. So we have to have wisdom. We need to know when we have hit our limit. And so I want to encourage anybody. It's not about looking good. And so, of course, I called my advisor. I said, hey, I'm going to sit out this quarter. I just buried my sister. I had my nephew, not even, a few weeks before that, we buried him, all of these things back to back. I need a break. And so first and foremost, we have to be honest in saying when we need a break. Do not try to push ourselves past our limit. It's not about perfection. It's not about who gets to the finish line first. Okay. You have to take time. And so this is where I'm going to start with my first point is, of course, prioritizing. So right now, my health is priority, my mental health, not grad school. That's going to work itself out. My mental health is my priority. Of course, taking care of my children is my priority. Many of you know, so many things have shut down in so many states. They just declared this weekend, I'm from Louisiana. There's not going to be any more school. So parents are going to have to teach their children. So how in the world am I going to have to be able to do grad school, take care of my mental health because of the deaths that I've just, that have just occurred, and teach my children? So priority is number 1. Prioritize your life. Prioritize your day. Sit down and write a list of those things that are important that you need to take care of. So that is very important. And don't let anybody try to put more on your plate than what you know that you can bear.
Can you run that back, please? Can you?
Yes,
Man.
Don't allow anyone to put more on your plate than what you can bear, than what you can handle, than what you can hold on to. It is okay to say no. Prioritize your life. And if people cannot understand what you need to do first and foremost for you, then they are not good for you in this season. Okay. If they're trying to get you to take care of their agenda above what you know that you need to take care of, then they're not for you in this season. So number 1, prioritize your life. Prioritize your day so that you don't get so anxious, so that you don't get so worried and bent out of shape to the point that you can't even take care of the things in your own home that you know that you need to take care of. So number 1, again, prioritize your life. Then I say number 2, pray. Take time to meditate daily. Sometimes I will sit myself in my closet, close the door, get on the floor.
Man, you do what you gotta do.
Do what you gotta do. And sometimes, you're going to have to close the children out of the closet, even if it's no more for 5 to 15 minutes. just to center yourself and say, okay, hey, God, here I am. Because I know everybody doesn't believe in God, but of course I do. So I believe him to be my source. I believe him to be my peace. I believe that I can lay my burdens down before him. So this is a time for me to meditate, to say thanks, just to open up that atmosphere and just to welcome that peace and that love and that joy in my heart, in my life, so that I can function through my day. So number 2, making sure that you're praying, making sure that you're meditating. And no, I'm not saying that you're in your closet for an hour, but if at least you can take 5 to 15 minutes out of the day so that you can center yourself. And so nothing will catch you off guard. Okay. And then number 3, which I think is so important. Who are you connecting with? Boundaries. Boundaries are so important. Are you consumed with people who love to gossip? Are you consumed with people who are angry and they're always wanting to start a fight with somebody? Are you consumed with people who they're not even trying to pursue their purpose? What kind of people are you connected to? What kind of things what kind of people that are speaking so much negativity that you are allowing this into your spirit? So that is so important. Have boundaries, whether it's with your family, whether it's with your friends. And some of you're going to have to disconnect from friendships that are toxic, that are not good for you. And you don't have to be ugly about it. But again, you may say, well, in this season of my life, I just can't rock with you right now because there are some things that I'm trying to do. I'm trying to keep myself together. I'm trying to keep my mind sane. I'm trying to keep my heart in a spirit of love. I'm trying to, keep all of this anxiety and this fear and this worry out of my life. So make sure that you are mindful about the people that you are connecting with. Make sure that you're mindful about setting boundaries. Everybody does not have a right to speak into your life.
Man,
Everybody
I don't even like to
have
let
a right
people
to
touch
speak into
me.
your life. Right.
I've said that before. Like, there's certain energies and vibes, and it's literally not me being rude. I'm just gauging the situation. So I don't always even want, like hands or a hug from a certain person. But this reminds me of an acronym that we've used previously regarding crew, the importance of a tight inner circle. So make sure that the people around you are helping you create, reciprocate, elevate, and that they're working with you and for you. So make sure that your crew is super, super tight. Tell me a little bit about how you feel like you're able to identify energies when you do talk about having people around you that maybe gossip too much. I know a few.
Right. Well, first, I'm going to tell you this is so important because, like I said, I speak to moms, wives, and women. And we have an intuition that God has given us. And I'm going to tell all of you ladies this because I have been there. In your gut without a shadow of a doubt when somebody is not right for you. You can feel it. The problem is that we ignore the red flags because we're too busy trying to be nice to everybody. And we feel as though if we disconnect or if we say, no, I don't want to hang around this, we're afraid of being disliked. We're afraid of what people will say about us. We're afraid of what they may try to do to us or whatever. But the first things first is feeling those red flags, accepting it for what it is, and doing what you need to do to disconnect yourself from it. If somebody is a gossip because all they do day by day is talking about somebody else's business. And it's almost like they don't have nothing better to do but to talk about what somebody else is doing, what somebody else is saying. When somebody is a gossip, when somebody is constantly stirring of mess and trouble because they're always the center of some kind of mess or trouble. You can feel it. Now, for me, I'm an empath, and not just that, in the church, we call it being able to discern spirit, different things like that. And so, of course, I already have that in me, but also we have that intuition. We have that feeling. We have that knowing. We're just afraid to acknowledge it and do what we need to do in order to disconnect from individuals that's like that. So that's simple. And that's really all that it is just being, know what you see. Just like, I'm going to give you this analogy. Just like maybe a couple of weeks ago, somebody came, Facebook in my inbox. Now, mind you, they're not really walking in their purpose, but then you get in my inbox and you're telling me in a negative, critical way how I need to do something, or how I sound as I'm encouraging other people. And so automatically I knew that this person was a negative individual. This was not something done in love. So you know when somebody's saying something because it's off in your spirit. It's something about it that's just not right. And so again, we just have to be honest with ourselves, know what we're feeling in our gut, that God-given intuition, and do what we need to do in order to, again, disconnect from people that are, that have that kind of spirit, that they're trying to throw you off. They're trying to keep you from pursuing your purpose. They're trying to throw you off their journey because maybe they're dealing with something in their own life and they can see the light in you. They can see your confidence. They can see you pursuing your purpose. So
Man,
what they're
I
going
once
to try
heard,
to
yeah,
do is
like
throw
that you
you
could,
off of your journey.
man, absolute. That affirms everything. Cause I heard one time, and social media, I take it for what it is. But I
Right.
heard once, that your energy like somebody could have a problem with you, not on the premise that they have a real problem with you, but that your energy
Right.
seemingly disrupts what they have going on. If, they
Right.
have, say, like negative, just into like maybe you're where they want to be. Or something
Right.
like that type thing.
Exactly. And you summed it up in a nutshell. You're where they want to be. You have that confidence that they want. You have that drive that they want, that they're too afraid to pursue. So instead of them trying to connect with you and just, seeing how they can grow and develop and to get to where you are, they're going to try to say something, throw an arrow to kind of throw you off the wall or throw you off your journey, and to try to make you feel insecure because they're feeling insecure. You can feel that in your spirit, and they'll say, oh no, I didn't mean it like that, or when you correct them, they'll try to make it seem like you're the one that's offended when really their spirit was wrong and you were able to detect that. I don't play when it comes to, when I didn't have any wisdom, I would used to fall for things like that. And I would used to, try to keep the door open to people like that. But now I'm wise enough to know, hey, there are just areas that you can't speak into my life, and I'm not going to allow you to do it. So let's just go ahead, and I'll love you from a distance. Let me go ahead and close this door on you and let you know you are not welcome in this space. And we need to know that it is okay to tell people no. It is okay to tell people in this space, you're not welcome to speak into, because you're not authorized to speak into this space. And it's okay. It's not about being ugly. Again, we're too busy wanting to appear a certain way to people instead of just being outright honest with people. And when we're not honest, it can really increase. We're going back to anxiety. It can increase our anxiety. And then, so I was moving on to number 4. Number 4 is pursuing your purpose. Make sure that you're active. Make sure that you're productive. Make sure that you're passionately pursuing what it is that you know that God has called you to do. And then you may say, well, I don't even know how to get there. I don't even know how to do it. Well, connect with people that know how to do it. Connect with like-minded people. Find your tribe. Find people. If you are a loving person or a giving person, a motivational person, find people that are like-minded. Find people that are loving. Find people that are creative, that are motivational. People who you're going to have their back and they're going to have your back. Like you were saying earlier, reciprocating is very important. So number 1, prioritizing your life. Number 2, making sure that you're praying, making sure that you're meditating. Number 3, making sure that you're setting boundaries. And number 4, making sure that you're pursuing your purpose. And then I will go on to say number 5, which I kind of said this earlier, Stop trying to be a people pleaser. Because if you try to be a people pleaser, it's going to drive you insane. It's going to mess with, if you're a person that's dealing with depression, it's going to mess with your depression. It's going to mess with your anxiety. It's going to mess with, if you're a person that has suicidal thoughts, it's going to mess with you. Because what is driving you is, the drive is coming from trying to please people. And then you have to ask yourself, well, why am I trying to be a people pleaser? Again, because many of us want to be loved and liked, and we'll do whatever we can in order to do it. I have been there. I have done that, and I'm over it. Okay? So not being a people pleaser, not trying to manipulate people into loving you or liking you, because they may love you and like you for a little bit, but it won't last, especially if it's a manipulation thing. Okay, so those are 5 important things that have worked and are working in my life, and hopefully those tips can help you out in your life as well.
Absolutely. There is so much. Thank you for that layout, and going to your last point of stop trying to be a people pleaser. Tell me where, what was the definitive line for you? Where did you start? Because, in order to get to the big thing, you got to start with the step. So what was your step to saying no? Because that can be that's a cuss word to some people.
You know what? When I realized that no matter how much I did, people still thought of me how they wanted to think of me. People still felt as if that they could still treat me however they wanted to treat me, no matter how much I tried to please. I said, you know what? This is for the birds. I am not going to run myself crazy trying to please people. I'm not set on this earth to please nobody. I'm only set on this earth to please God and to fulfill the purpose that He's called me to. But I think you have to get to that place of, just saying, you know what? This is overwhelming. This is too much. This is again, it's really not working, because again, people will take everything that you're trying to give them as a people pleaser, and then you'll learn that you'll never get anything back in return. And so it's all about getting to a point where you're fed up and saying, you know what? I just have to let this go. You know, when people say, I'm tired of being sick and tired. Well, once you get to that place of being tired of being sick and tired of being a people pleaser, then you'll get some sense about yourself and some wisdom, and say, you know what? I just have to let this go, because this isn't good for my mental health, my emotional health, my spiritual health, and even my physical health. And so you just have to get to that place.
Man, I love that you pointed out and made the connection to your mental health taking a toll on your physical health. I cannot stress this enough. Some people really assume self-care and mental wellness to be just doing what I can to not go crazy, when in reality, it should be an immersive experience. So just to recap the points that we've discussed, prioritization, organization helps combat anxiety. And when you align yourself spiritually, you can do anything. I'm talking meditate, journal, walk, and to your point, 5 to 15 minutes to center yourself daily. We talked about who you're connecting with, your boundaries. Take note of the energies around you. Do they even put the work in? Think again of crew. Create, reciprocate, elevate. They work with you and for you. Is your crew doing you favors? Are they suiting you emotionally? Don't ignore the red flags. Don't ignore the signs. Your intuition is everything. Pursue your purpose. Put yourself in a space to succeed. Stop trying to be a people pleaser. Man, I love what you said there, that people didn't change on your account. Like, people didn't change just because you were doing suddenly for them. People didn't start doing for it. Like, I think that was something I heard one time, is that no one, like you said, you're not here to please people. You're here for a purpose. That's not to say we're terrible people or we're going to go out doing terrible things. That's just to say that you're still a good person. You're still going to do good things, but I'm not here to service you or serve you, or your perception of me is not my responsibility. So And those points are just, I don't even have on, you could just take the show this week. I don't even need to be here. But honestly, this has just been such an amazing experience. And I cannot thank you enough for sharing your struggles. I know you've probably heard this from a million different places, but I do send my condolences. I remember seeing some of your posts on Instagram. And there was so much light and life there. But what struck me was my ability to walk away feeling like I had taken something from what you had posted and I had had life in something. So that energy is something that you constantly put out. And I know that you know that, but your confidence, your energy, your aura it's been an absolute pleasure. Just before we go, let the people know one more time where they can find you or how they can connect with some of the services you offer.
Okay, well, I'm on Instagram at MWW Mental Health Coaching. And I'm also on Facebook, again, MWW Mental Health Coaching. But let me tell you this, what I have just completed. Usually I've been doing encouraging videos and putting them up, of course, on my Instagram and Facebook. But this week I've actually been so busy creating that I haven't done any videos, but I've created an app for my MWW Mental Health Coaching. And basically, people that subscribe, the women that subscribe to the app, you're going to get, of course, there is a fee, a small fee, but there's so many things that you can get on the app. Not only do you get to do one-on-one coaching with me each month, but there are so many resources for women, tips for stress, affirmations are on there, encouraging messages, books that I have written, you get to have access to that. It's so many things that you get to have access to. Of course, any kind of.
I'm sorry. I am so you're an author also. I can't.
Yes.
My goodness. Like what?
Yes.
Guys, let me
tell you, I'm gifted at creating. So there are so many things that I do. Not only am I an author, but I'm a playwright. I'm also a short film writer.
That inspires me so much. Just to hear another person, like one that you walk by faith. That's amazing. But then also just your creative spirit and energy. I hear all the time, don't be a jack of all trades and a master of none. And I feel like I apply myself heavily to everything I do, but sometimes it can feel like from different areas, like you may not belong in a certain lane or that people will tell you can't do that. Right.
Yeah.
And so just to hear you say, like, I do all of these things, I own all of these things, I have an app for you. You can subscribe to it. And I definitely want you to proceed to tell people about that. But I just had to, I just had to give you some praise, girl, because that for me was like a boost of energy in and of itself. But yes.
Oh, yes. And you know what? It's so crazy because I had my cast and crew ready, my assistant director. We were actually supposed to start filming the short film the beginning of May. But of course, since all of this pandemic and everything is going on, we had to stop what we're doing right now. And then myself and my assistant director will get back together with another date when we're gonna start filming. But yes, I'm a creator. That is, I would say, my number one gift. People don't know that, but of course I have a heart to serve in so many other avenues. But number one is creating. But I have an app, yes, and everything on there, books that I've written, affirmations for women, tips about, stress and motivational messages, everything. And again, you get to do one-on-one coaching with me. You have access to group coaching, things that I have done, especially for those of you that may be dating, you may be a newlywed, or you may be, thinking about marriage, whatever it is. And so I have a group coaching call on there. If you've ever been through a situation where you have battled with gossip, and what I mean being battled with gossip is that you may have been attacked by that. Maybe you feel that it has ruined your life. I have that book on there as well as a group coaching call. There are so many resources. And so actually the app is live today. And I'm going to go on my Instagram page tomorrow just to let everybody know. But it's actually MWWMHS Coaching, and it's live on Apple right now, and it will be live on Play Store pretty soon, hopefully by tomorrow or no later than Monday. So I'm just excited. So that is a way that you can connect with me, not just on Instagram, but on the app as well. So I know there was a lot to share, but I'm just super
Girl, it's all
excited
right.
about
They
that.
caught it. And this is they got them 15-second run back buttons. If you miss something, you just play it back. This ain't going nowhere.
Right. So yeah.
And I just went to the App Store. I have an iPhone, and I was able to find the application very easily. You can see the layout. It flows beautifully. So I'm excited to download that myself and just kind of check some things out. Thank you for sharing that with us. And thank you for sharing your time with me today. Thank you for sharing a piece of your wisdom with us.
Thank you.
Man,
Thank
this
you
is so
much.
amazing. And just the kind of energy we needed. If you think for a second that for whatever reason, life is working against you, consider the fact that you're still here. And before you go, if you would, just please bless the listeners with a piece of advice. If they feel like they're in a state where they just can't, like they can't do it anymore. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to do. And even though this episode may have made them feel really good, they still have to deal with life when they, stop listening.
Well, you know what? I want to encourage you. Of course, I talked about those 5 points, and hopefully that can be a starter for you. But I want to encourage you to get help. It is okay to get help. Me, myself, I've had to get counseling before. Even though I'm a mental health and support coach, I've had to get counseling before in my own life. So I want to encourage you that it is okay to get help. Just make sure that you're getting help from somebody that you know that you can trust. Whether it's a professional or some kind of support. But that's really just, what I want to say. It's okay to get help. We all need help. And so, just make sure that you're reaching out for that during this time. Also, be patient with yourself. It is so important that we are patient with ourselves. Being patient is a part of self-care. It is a part of self-love. We don't all have it together. Take your day minute by minute, second by second, hour by hour. It's okay. But number one, make sure that you're getting help, and number two, make sure that you're being patient with yourself. It's okay.
Man, those are two very, very powerful things. And I think that's just because people forget. I understand where coming off, to get help can make you feel inadequate. It can make you feel like you don't have all the answers. And newsflash, you don't. None of us do.
Right. None of us do.
Like that is
yes.
That is literally it. We are all lost, dazed, and confused in some way and needing something. So as you step into this week, I want you to own it. Really expect better, do better, and believe better. I'm your host. It's Just Nikia. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at It's Just Nikia. Most importantly, we have personal pages dedicated to the show at the Expect Effect Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. I can't thank you enough for this has been, I don't even have, honestly, I wanted to leave. I was like, she's got it. I don't need to be here. I'm just going to go listen myself and let her run it. But thank you so much. I am humbled. I hope I get to work with you again in the future. I'm excited to see all of your endeavors. And man, this is it. This has been another week of expecting better, doing better, and believing better. We're wrapping up your weekly dose of me time. Self-care Sundays have never looked this good. So be sure you're right here next week at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time.